Good morning and welcome to Space Bible Class. So today we're going to catch back up with our friend Abraham and his family, and you guys will get to be geologists and count some sand, and you'll also get to be astronomers and count some stars because God made some very big promises to our friend Abraham, and we're going to talk about what those are today. Are you guys ready? Everybody nod your heads if you're ready. Okay, so first, since we're not going to a specific location in our Bible class today, we're not going to sing our continent song. I know you're sad, but we are going to look at the timeline. You remember this from our classroom at the church building? Yeah, we haven't seen this in 6 weeks, have we? So in our timeline, I want you to think about, and everybody tell me together, are you ready? What year are we in now? Can you tell me?
2019.
No, we're not.
2020.
Wait a second. Oh yes, I heard the right answer. 2020. Some people say 2020. That's right. That's where we are now in time. But Abraham lived a very long time ago. And on our timeline, you can see the numbers above him. Can you tell me what numbers are above Abraham? What numbers do you see?
BC and 2100 BC.
That's right, 2100. Wait, what is BC? What is that? Do you remember? Did I hear it? Before Christ. Before Christ, right. So Jesus is kind of around year 0 here. And when we go before Jesus, it says BC. So think about it. If Abraham is at, we'll say, 2100 BC, so 2000 years before Jesus-ish, and we are 2000 years after Jesus. What's 2000 plus 2000? 2000 plus 2000 is?
4,000.
Yeah.
Something.
Good job, guys. Good math. Very good math skills. Abraham lived almost 4,000 years ago, a little over 4,000 years ago. That's a really long time. And the promises that God made to Abraham still count for us as Christians today, 4,000 years later. It's pretty amazing. So let's get into what those promises are. We're going to go back to Abraham's family and catch up with them. Remember, they are like the Bedouin. They are desert nomads, and they wander from place to place with their flocks of sheep and herds of goats, and they travel. And Abraham's family did that. And so when we find them, they are in a place maybe like this. They're at their tents, the families are there. But at the beginning of Abraham's story in the book of Genesis, Abraham is missing something. He's missing children. Sarah is not able to have any children. And so they go through as they travel, but they don't have any children, and that makes them very sad. And not having children can be very hard sometimes. And so God actually went to talk to Abraham about it. But before I tell you what he said, take a look at this picture, and I want you to tell me, what do you see on the ground? What do you notice?
Sand.
Yeah.
Sand.
There's a lot of sand in this picture. That's right. That's right. First thing that God talked to Abraham about was sand. Here, I'll show you. When we go to our scripture, let's read it. Read it to the people around you. I will make them as many as the grains of sand on the seashore. All nations on earth will be blessed because of your children. What? But for the longest time, Abraham didn't have any children. This seemed impossible. So let's talk about sand. When God said, you'll have as many as the grains of sand on the seashore, well, what God was saying was, you're going to have a lot. Have you guys ever gone to the beach or have sand at home, maybe in a sandbox? Raise your hand. Do you have sand at home, or have you played on the beach? And you know, when you pick up, when you scoop up handful of sand, it's everywhere. It gets in your clothes, it gets in your shoes, it gets between your toes. There's a lot of sand in a very small amount. And so, have you ever thought about counting it? Well, so if we put our math hats on, if we use our math, we can estimate how much sand there is. So imagine you take a teaspoonful of sand and then you spread that on a table, and then with your magnifying glass, you look down and you can count all the grains of sand. But that's just 1 teaspoon. And then you have to figure out, well, how many teaspoons are in one beach? And then you have to figure out how many beaches are on the earth. That's astronomical. That's a huge number. God was comparing the number of kids Abraham would have with all these millions and billions and trillions grains of sand. That's a lot. That's kind of an unbelievable promise, isn't it? Well, I found a really cool picture of what sand looks like, magnified 300 times, like super up close with a microscope. Check this out. It looks like a work of art. I didn't know sand looked like this. Did you? Wow, that's so pretty. Look at all the colors. There's pink and red and green and black and clear, of course. Sand is made up of microscopic particles. It's made up of quartz. So you'll see quartz in sand. You'll also see calcium, like old shells of formerly living microscopic organisms. And there's all kinds of little things. When you are at a black sand beach, there's volcanic glass down under there in the sand. And so sand looks amazing up close. But the thing I want to talk to you about next is how we use sand to make glass. Now follow along here. So we're going to transition from sand to stars, but it goes through glass. So let me show you. This is a pair of spectacles from the 1600s. So back when glass was discovered, I mean, it had been used for thousands of years, but in the 1400s, they invented clear glass. And by the 1600s, lots of people were wearing these very fashionable spectacles. I have some on today. Does anybody out there wear glasses? Anybody else? Yeah, so in the 1600s, there was a spectacle maker, a Dutch spectacle maker, and he watched the kids in his shop. They were playing with the lenses out of glasses, and they would put them one in front of the other, and they would look at faraway things, and they suddenly looked very close. And he thought, hey, that's really cool. I'm going to make something that does that, where you can look at faraway objects. And you know what he called it? Well, he didn't actually call it a telescope, but that's what it was. He had a different name for it at the time. But a guy, a very famous scientist named Galileo, heard about this lens situation that made distant objects look closer, and he made his own. And that's what we know as the modern telescope. Here's how this is important in our Bible story. Because sand makes glass, and you use glass lenses to do a telescope, and that is how you can see the sky, to see the stars. And so Galileo was the very first one who took his telescope and pointed it upwards at the sky. And when he did that, his telescope actually magnified 20 times. And so when he pointed it skyward, he could see the Milky Way behind us, not the candy bar. The Milky Way is this thing behind me, this kind of hazy, cloudy-like thing in the sky that you've probably seen before. He could see the Milky Way. He saw the craters on the moon. He saw the rings around Saturn. And he even saw the moons of Jupiter just with his homemade telescope. Wow. And that only magnified it 20 times. And so let's think about how many he might have seen with his telescope. He actually would have seen about 30,000 stars with his telescope. That's a lot of stars. Wow. Okay, so we need to know this for the next part of our lesson, because we're going to switch and talk about stars. Because God talked to Abraham not just about sand, but also about stars. So let's read what God talked to Abraham about. He said, actually in the Bible it says, the Lord told Abram outside, or he took him outside and he said, look up at the sky. Count the stars if you can. I think that was a challenge. Then he said to him, that's how many children will be born into your family. What? That's so many. And at this point, Abraham didn't have any kids. How is this possible? Well, let's talk about the stars that Abraham could have seen just with his own eyes. He probably would have been able to count 3,000 to 4,000 stars just with his own eyes. And we can do that today or tonight. If we go outside after dark and look up, we can count about that many too. Just with our own eyes, not even with a telescope. And actually a researcher from Yale went out and counted about 4,500 stars, but of course he was trained and knows what to look for. So he maybe got a few more than we can, or maybe Abraham can. But that many stars is only for our own hemisphere. What about the other side of the earth that we can't see, right? It has around the same amount of stars. So altogether, this astronomer from Yale counted about 9,000 stars that we can see just with our eyes. That's amazing. And the Milky Way behind me here, that just by itself has about 1 billion stars. It's a lot farther away than what's right around our Earth. It has a lot of stars. Now, our Earth, and we're in the Milky Way Galaxy, we're actually part of about excuse me, about 50 galaxies, but we can only see 3 of them with our eyes, our naked eyes. We can see the Milky Way, of course. We can see the Andromeda Galaxy, and we can see the clouds of Magellan. And that's where we're going to go here in a minute. I'll show you. I want to show you a quick picture of what it might have looked like from Abraham's perspective to look at all those stars. This picture is actually from the country of Jordan, which was right next door to where Abraham was. And imagine him sitting out there in his tent with his family, looking up at night. And God saying, come outside, come count the stars if you can, meaning there's so many, you really can't count them all. Okay, so now, we can see these 3 galaxies with our own eyes, and Abraham could have 2. But to see even farther, we need that telescope again. So let's go back and get our telescope, except this time we're getting a ginormous telescope. This is the Hubble Space Telescope. Have you guys seen this before? Or maybe you've seen it on TV?
Yes. I learned about this in school.
The Hubble Telescope is actually 30 years old. This week, on April 24th, 1990, I was 9 years old. It was taken up into space by the Space Shuttle Discovery. And the whole point of the Hubble Space Telescope is so it can be out in space looking at very distant objects. And it's found some amazing, amazing discoveries. It's found stars, it's found galaxies, it's even found exoplanets, planets that are so far away from us. And so I have a quick video to show you something that the Hubble Space Telescope found that's actually kind of in the galaxy next door to us. So I'm going to show you a video of the Tarantula Nebula. Now, this is put together from the pictures that the Hubble Space Telescope takes. It has big mirrors inside and cameras, and it focuses on an object, it gets the mirrors in the right spot, and then the camera takes the pictures. And then there's antennas that send the pictures back to Earth. And this is a video made from all the pictures that it sent back when it went to the Tarantula Nebula. A nebula is where baby stars are born. So I'm going to play this video so you can see what the Hubble Space Telescope can see. Now, there's some constellations. Now we're going in to that, the clouds of Magellan. See if you can count the stars while we go through this. Just watch fairies quietly. Look how many stars there are. Wow, isn't that gorgeous? Look at all those stars in the heavens. And that's the galaxy next door. And there's even more galaxies than that. Space is so huge. And when God gave the promise to Abraham, imagine how vast the sky seemed and how many stars there were when Abraham looked at it. And how amazing we have technology today where we can go even farther into space and see even more of the wonderful things God created. So it turns out that there are 70,000 million stars in the sky, in the universe. And that's just an estimate. Of course, nobody can count it exactly. So that's kind of God's point. Nobody can count it exactly. There's so many. Now, there's a really cool website that I'll share with you after class. I'll put it on my Facebook page so your parents can see it. It is a website where you can go put your birthday in, and it will show you what the Hubble Space Telescope saw on your birthday. How cool is that? So I'm going to share that with you so you can do that after worship is done today. It's super cool. Ryan shared it with me so I could see my birthday. Oh, it's gorgeous. They saw the Horsehead Nebula on my birthday. It's really, really cool. I think you'll like that.
Why is it called the Tarantula Nebula?
That's a wonderful question. Was that Isla who asked? Thank you. Why is it called the Tarantula Nebula? Probably because it has lots of little legs that come off, little pockets where you can go see. How about I share a link that describes the Tarantula Nebula for you, and you can go read more about it after. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. You guys have good questions. Thank you. Okay. So space is vast. The number of grains of sand on the earth is vast. What was God really trying to tell Abraham? Well, maybe this will help. So when there was no reason for hope, Abraham believed because he had hope. He became the father of many nations, exactly as God had promised. God was trying to tell Abraham that you don't have to have a lot of kids. It's those kids who will have kids, who will then have kids, who will then have kids. And that will create very big families, nations. And it's true. Actually, I have a poll. Are you ready for a poll? I need you to get your fingers ready. Mr. Ryan is going to share the poll where you tell me the names of the children that Abraham did eventually have. Remember, he had one of them when he was 65 and another one when he was 100. Can you tell me the names that you remember of Abraham's children? Select as many as you can, as many as you like. So tap the screen, select your answers. We're collecting votes.
It's only letting us pick one.
Oh, pick your favorite. Sorry about that. I guess I'll have to change it for next week. Rats. Okay, everybody. Pick one. 10 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4 more votes coming in. Here we go. And done. Okay, Ryan, what are our results? I see several. I can't see it from here. You have to tell me. Nope. Okay, this was a trick question because all of them are his children. We just thought he had Isaac and Ishmael. We've read about them later, right? But it turns out he had 6 more sons, at least, that the Bible tells us. After Sarah died, Abraham remarried to a woman named Keturah, and she had 6 sons by Abraham. Pretty amazing. Now, what's really amazing is that God promised Abraham he would have a child and that it would become the father of many nations. And it's true, because if you look today, the family of Jews came from his son Isaac, and the family of Arabs came from his son Ishmael. Wow, very, very big nations. And then the best part is that one of Abraham's many great grandsons was Jesus. What? Amazing. And because we believe and follow Jesus, we're one of those nations, our Christian nation. And that means that the promises God gave to Abraham are for us as Christians too, when we follow Jesus. How amazing is that? So if you think about how many people live on the earth right now, just right now, there are 7.7 billion, with a B, billion people on earth, and over 1/2 belong to the families of Abraham, because they're either Jewish or Arab or Muslim or Christian. And all of these family groups, nations, trace back to Abraham. That's God's promise, that he would have many nations. And so while it was hard for him at the first, because he didn't have any kids, he couldn't see how this was going to happen, Abraham believed when there was no hope. It's pretty amazing. We can have faith like Abraham. Oh, do you remember what faith means? I use that word. Do you remember what faith means? It's believing things.
Assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen.
Good job, Kellen. Yes, that's right. It's Hebrews 11:1. You can read that with your family. Read it in your Bible. Faith is believing in what you can't see. And Abraham was one of our best examples of what it means to have faith. So I hope that you enjoyed counting the sand, the grains of sand, and coming to space with me here to count these stars. God's point was that God can do things even when it seems impossible. So next week, we're going to finish our Abraham story by going back to Jerusalem. We're going to learn about something called the foundation stone and how it connects Abraham and his son Isaac to Jesus and to us as Christians today. I'm so glad you came to Bible class. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Go check out your... Bye, guys.
Bye.
Happy fireworks.
Hi, Isla.
Peter just told me Oreo fireworks.
Go look at everybody. Did you say bye?
Bye.
Yeah, come up here. Hey, guys, Finn wants to say bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. We'll see ya.
We miss you. Bye, Isla.
Oh, we miss you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, good job.